Do you sometimes look at some of your knitting notions and think, oh man, I wish I hadn't bought that? Because I do. Or maybe you're just starting out with knitting and you don't want to spend your precious money on all those cute little things that in the end you won't use. So this video is for you. I will also talk about what I like to use instead of the things I regret buying. So maybe you don't end up with an entire basket full of things you don't need. I will talk about needles, multiple sets by the way, stitch markers, cable needles, scale, blocking mats, and many other things. So get comfy and let's dive in. Hi there and welcome. My name is Luisa, but everybody calls me Lu. And here on the channel I post regular podcast episodes every 2 weeks, talking about everything I'm knitting at the moment and my plans for the near future. So I don't know about you, but around here summertime also means organization time. So I've been doing some organizing around my craft room and I've came across many knitting tools and notions that I wish I hadn't bought. So I will also talk about all my favorite knitting tools and notions in a later video, but today is all about the ones I regret and what I like to use instead. So just before we start, a little disclaimer. This is all based in my opinion and my knitting experience and the way I knit. So maybe some of the things that I don't really like to knit with, you really like, and that's okay. Everybody has their own opinion. And some of the things that we'll be talking about aren't available anymore. So everything that I can manage to find a link for will be linked down below. But I know some of the things, well, they are just too old and they are not available anymore. So anyway, I have an entire basket full of things, so I would just go through all the items in the basket and we'll see what that goes, right? So starting with needles, let's go with my first pair of knitting needles. This is the KnitPro Nova needles. I mean, not the case I bought separately, but it houses all my KnitPro Nova needles. And I bought this when I first started knitting. Everybody recommended this needle and they are quite popular amongst the knitters of the world. Really easy to find, really good price tag and all of that. But I don't like them. So the needle size here on the body of the needle came off when I was knitting my first sweater with these needles. So I was knitting a top-down sweater and by the time I got to the body of the sweater, the needle size was already gone. So I have 11 pairs of needles and this happened with what, 9-10 pairs. You can see I have a 4mm here, but all the other sizes don't have the needle size anymore. And also the tip of the needle really is scratchy. I don't know why. I don't know if I bought a fake set. I don't think I did because I bought it from a reputable yarn shop online that I've bought from many times now, and I never had a problem with any of the things that I bought from them. But if you look at the needle tips, the coating is off. It wears off quite easily, and this happened after 2 or 3 projects that I knitted using these needles. I don't know why. If it happened after 1, 2 or 3 years of use, it would be okay, but after 2 sweaters, no. This is not for me. When I'm knitting with some of these needles, I can feel my one needle tip scratching the other and I don't know what's going on. I've tried using an emery board to make things smoother, didn't help. I've tried using my fingernail here to find where the problem is. It didn't help either. So I don't know what happens with these needles, but I just don't like them. The cables are, in my opinion, well, they have a life of their own. I've tried using boiling water to make them relaxed and all of that, but it doesn't really help long term. It just helps, well, for the first few minutes of knitting with these cables. So yeah, these needles are not for me. But one positive thing about it is the joint between the needle tip and the cable. It's quite good. I really like the joint. It's really smooth and all of that. And every time you buy a cable for KnitPro Needles, you get the end stopper, one pair of end stopper, which is quite good, and in my opinion, a huge pro. But overall, these needles are not for me. So let me close the case, and let me put it here. Now, let's go with, let me see, cable needles. So when I first started knitting, people recommended getting my hands on some cable needles, and I did, but it took me a while to find the needles that I really actually enjoy. So the first ones I got were these. So this is a small set. Well, not really that small. There are many cable needles here. So I first got this. You have two different shapes. This thing here, and the other one is like this, and you have different sizes for each shape. So I have 4 different thicknesses for this one and 3 different for this other one. And I really don't like this. I don't think they even have a brand or anything. I just got them online one time, and the material is really cheap. It seems really, well, easily breakable, and I don't like it. It's very plasticky. They're terrible, all right? So I don't really like the shape of these needles. So this is quite annoying, this shape, and I really don't like this one either. You have to put your stitches right in the middle, otherwise it gets in the way, the stitches slides off the needle. I don't like it. So one time I was purchasing it online. It was from Hobby actually, and if you remember earlier in the day when people used to buy from Hobby's website, you got a little gift in your cart, and sometimes it was buttons, sometimes stitch markers, and one time I got cable needles. So this is the set that I was gifted at the time. It's just these 3 sizes in different thicknesses. They are metal, so they are quite good. I really like them. It's way better than my first set. But I still don't like the shape because it's almost the same shape as the first one that I didn't like. They are good because they are sturdy and they're metal. So this is a huge improvement from the first set that I've got, but I still don't like the shape. So these are the cable needles that I use at the moment. I don't always use cable needles when I'm knitting a cabled project, but sometimes I do. And I came across these needles also from Hobby's website, and they have this spiral shape. I have 3 needles, one of them is missing. I think it's, yeah, it's right here. Let me get it. So the set came with 3 different colors. I don't really know why, because the needles are exactly the same, the same thickness and all of that. So I don't know why the set came with 3 different colors, but it's alright. I really like them because of this spiral shape here. Your stitches don't fall off the needles. This is the problem that I have with this type of cable needle here. When I'm knitting with it, my stitches usually slide right through the needle and my needle falls to the floor, and I have live stitches at the worst possible time to have them. So this spiral shape here doesn't allow the stitches to fall right off because of this, well, there's no other end to the needle. So I really like this, and at the same time, because of that, it doesn't really matter if you have just a really thin or a really thick needle, if you're knitting with either fingering weight or bulky weight yarn. Because of the spiral shape, the stitches won't fall off. So I really like this when I'm knitting cables. This is my preferred cable needle so far. Now let's put all the cable needles aside. Next up is point protectors. I don't really know the name. I'm talking about these things that you put at the tip of your needles to protect them from, well, scratching other things and getting damaged. So the ones I have here are from KnitPro also, and you get one pair of each size. So there's the pink one that is from 2.5 millimeters up, I think, and the green one, which is up to 4.5 millimeters or something like that. I don't really remember the needle sizes anymore. But my problem with this, so they were really cheap. They cost around €5 at the time. I bought them a really long time ago when I first started knitting. And my problem with this is they have no grip. They don't stick to the needles at all. So let me get one needle tip here, one KnitPro Nova. So I am talking about, so the needles I'm showing you are KnitPro Nova, and this point protector here is also from KnitPro, so it should work, right? So I put it here and see, it has no grip. It doesn't stay on the needle. It doesn't matter if I use a bigger needle or a smaller one. It has no grip. It is terrible. It doesn't protect my needles at all. So it took me a while to find a replacement for this. What I eventually came across is this one from Tulip. They are really cute. They look like a little tulip, and they actually work. So let me show you the same needles that I have here. These are the same KnitPro Nova, and they don't fall off. I have to really make an effort to get them off my needles. And if I use this is a ChiaoGoo needle, and it works perfectly also. I really have to make an effort to get them off my needles. So this is what I like to use as a needle protector, point protector. Anyway, now what else? Next up, try-it-on tubing. Let's go with try-it-on tubing. So the ones I have here are also from Hobbii. I used to buy a lot from Hobbii when I first started knitting, and I have two sizes, two different thicknesses. So this one is a smaller try-it-on tubing. I usually use them when I'm doing a mid-project block to check the length, especially if I'm knitting with superwash yarn and all of that. I want to see if the fabric will grow lengthwise, widthwise, all of that. So I usually use try-it-on tubing. I would love if I could use cables from my needles, but I'm afraid of submerging them underwater and then getting rust on and all of that. I tried looking for that online, if people already did that and if it damaged the cables or anything like that. I couldn't find any information about that. So I use try-it-on tubing, at least for now. And this is from Hobbii. I think now they just have one type of try-it-on tubing, but at the time I bought this, they had two different thicknesses. They are the same. It's a glossy silicone with a hollow tubing, and that you put to the tip of your needles and slide your stitches. But my problem with this is it has really no grip, to the point that I can't really use it. So look at that. Sometimes you can, if you hold it like that, you can even see the try-it-on tubing moving upwards and sliding right off the needles. So this is my ChiaoGoo needle, and it doesn't work. When I am sliding my stitches into this try-it-on tubing, it comes off almost instantly. See? It's terrible. I end up losing all my stitches, and then it's way more work to catch them again than to use some other things. So see, I don't know what happens with this. So I've seen people talking about a entire spool of try-it-on tubing that you can buy directly from Amazon. You can choose the color and all of that. So I've been wanting to try that, but I still haven't purchased that. So we'll see. I think I will soon enough. But at the time I have this. I don't know if it's because it is glossy. Can you see the shine? The silicone is really glossy. Maybe it slides right off the needles. Other try-it-on tubings that I've seen around yarn shops and all of that, they aren't shiny, so maybe that helps with sticking to the needle. I don't know. This is the one I have, and I really regret buying this. So now let's go with stitch holders. I think these are called stitch holders. So this is one of the first things that I bought when I first started knitting, and people said I really needed stitch holders. I don't know why. They are this, it's like a really huge safety pin that you slide, you open it and you slide your stitches right into this thing, and then you close it and you have your live stitches saved so you won't lose them. But I mean, they are fine, they work great. I think I got this set from Amazon and there are 6 different sizes. They are really good. I like the colors, they are metal. They seem sturdy enough, but I regret it because I don't find myself using it. Every time I could use a stitch holder like this, I could just use a small cable from my needle set, or maybe a smaller section of try-it-on tubing, or maybe a lifeline. I don't know, I still haven't found myself really needing a stitch holder like these ones. They are quite cute and good, but I don't know, I regret it because I really don't use it. Alright, so another thing that I really regret buying is straight needles. So these ones I have are from KnitPro also. They are the KnitPro Zings, I think. They are really cute with this color. The needle size here is still, at least until now, it's still here. I can still see the needle size. I have an entire set of these KnitPro Zings. I just have the 4mm here to show you, but if you look right over here, the other pairs are right there. So I don't really use them because they are straight, and these are quite long. These ones are 40 centimeters long. So I find myself really struggling when I'm knitting with straight needles, because especially these ones, they look at they are almost the length of my arm. So if I'm sitting by the couch or at a armchair, it hits the arm of the couch, or even my legs, or the couch cushion and all of that. So it's really annoying to knit with these needles. So, and at the same time, I still have the same problem with the tips. One tip scratches the other. I don't know what happens there. So let me see. You can see the one tip is not as shiny as the other. It's quite scratched already, and I haven't used these needles that much, just for a few projects before I got my hands on a interchangeable needle set. So yeah, these are the needles that I have. I wish I hadn't bought it, because you can do a lot of things with straight needles, but you can do it all. I really like knitting in the round. I really like knitting sweaters and hats, and in the round means I don't have any seaming to do. So yeah, I don't really use my straight needles, and now they are just here for a little decor in my craft room, but what can I do about it? Oh, this one, color work. I bought this a while ago. This is a ring for color work. You just put them in your index finger, and you're supposed to thread one color through this ring here and the second color through the other ring, and it's supposed to help you with, well, knitting color work. I knit continental, but the way I hold my yarn, I have to keep my index finger really close to my needles. So I really struggle with this. I can't get an even tension when I am knitting color work with this ring here, and I have to keep my index finger quite well away from my needles like this, and I usually keep my fingers right next to my needles, so I really struggle with getting an even tension. So I don't know. Mine is from Addi, and I bought them a while ago. I think they still have this for sale. And the material is good. I think the size is good. It's quite comfortable. I just can seem to find a way to work with this and knit comfortably with this and get a good result. But that is just me. I know many people use this for color work, but yeah, I don't know. This is the one I have. And another thing is stitch markers. So I have quite a few stitch markers. Let me open my case. So the ones I regret the most are this one. They are quite thick. They are really cute and they come in really cute colors. But I don't really like the thickness they have, because especially if you're knitting with fingering weight yarn, the yarn has to travel around the stitch marker to get to the other stitch on your needles. So that little bit of extra yarn, sometimes I get lettering when I am using this type of stitch marker. So I usually use it for, to track my progress and all of that. But even then, sometimes I get a little baggy stitch because of this stitch marker. I have a huge set of it because I bought it from Amazon when I first started knitting, and the set came in many different colors. Let me see if I can show you. The set came in many different colors, and I really like the colors. They are quite fun, but I don't really use them. I just kept half of the set and gave the second half to my mother. And the ones I really like using now are the light bulb stitch markers. I think that's the name. They are quite thin, so they don't take up. Let me get another color, maybe it's easier. Let me get a red one. So they are quite thin. The yarn doesn't have to travel like that much to get to the other stitch, so I really like that. And I also have the stitch markers that I got from a ChiaoGoo needle set. They're also really thick. They're really cute, but they are also really thick. So I have the same problems that I have with the other type that I just showed you. So yeah, I don't really use this kind of stitch marker. I just use the light bulb ones and they work quite well. Now, another needle set that I really regret buying is my Addi needles. And it pains me to say that, but let me get my needles. So I bought the Addi Click, I think it's Addi Click Novel set. This is the 13 I think it's 13 centimeter. It's the long tip set, and the case is really cute. You open it and you would have all your needles here and all of that. They're quite cute, and I just took them off this case and stored them together with my other needles. So let me get one set here. So the needles I have the same problems with the cables. They coil up and I can't seem to get rid of it and all of that. But the needles that I have here, they have these little indentations and they are supposed to massage your hands while you're knitting with them. And I don't see any difference. I don't feel like my hands are relaxed because I am knitting with these needles. They have a square section with these little indentations and they are beautiful, okay? And they have this click mechanism, so you don't need a tightening key to secure the needles to the cables. You just connect them and click them into place. But I don't like them, and I don't know if I bought a fake set or not. I don't think I did, because I bought from another yarn shop that, it seems reliable enough. But if I touch all my needle tips, I can see that some of the needle tips have a different feel. Some of them feel more glossy and they slide easier from my fingers than others. I don't know what happened there. I don't know, but the ones on top are way glossier than and shinier than the pair that I have on the bottom. So I don't know what happened there, but I don't use these needles. I don't like the click mechanism. The idea seemed good enough. I don't need a tightening key to secure the cables, but at the same time, there's a little step here where the cable meets the needle tip, and sometimes this catches my yarn, especially if I'm knitting with unspun or if I'm knitting with mohair. The mohair yarn or the unspun, it really gets stuck here and I have to force it through this section of the needle. So yeah, it's not for me, it's not an enjoyable experience. But what can I do about it, right? One other problem that I have with my Addi needles is the end stoppers for the needles. So the needles are silver, right? But the end stoppers have this golden thing here to attach to the cables. So the cable is silver, the needle tip is silver, but the end stopper is gold. Why? Why would you do this? I can't understand it. Why would you do such a thing? Just make them silver, man. Why? I can't stand it. It drives me crazy just looking at this. Oh, they're quite cute with the little heart. But the golden tip here, no. Why? That's the only thing I can say. Why? Next up is a gauge ruler. This is a needle gauge, I think. It's just to check the needle size you have. In my opinion, this is quite useful if you have a needle set that, well, has no needle size written. But anyway, I bought this because of this little part here. This is a magnifying glass, and this is from KnitPro, by the way, and this is supposed to, well, make your stitches bigger when you knit a swatch, to help you count your stitches and check your gauge and all of that. But I find it really hard to use because although the magnifying glass is a good idea, I find it hard to make sure that I'm counting my stitches in the same row. And I've sometimes change rows when I'm counting the stitches to check my gauge, and I think this makes things harder some way. I don't know, I just don't use this, and in place of this I prefer using these square gauge rulers. I don't know the name, but I have this one from Addi, and you have like the 10 by 10 centimeter square here, so it's way easier to check my gauge, in my opinion. I just have a really good light situation and I check my gauge, and I don't have to worry about how many centimeters do I still have to count until I get to 10 centimeters, because you already have the 10 by 10 square. So it makes things easier in my mind, and I'm a little bit of a control freak, so this really helps me when I'm counting my stitches. Now, this one is quite funny. A yarn bowl. You can already tell that I don't use my yarn bowl for the right purposes, right? So, this is from Zostrene Grene, which is a quite popular store around Europe, and it is really cute. So the idea is to put your ball of yarn inside this bowl, and the yarn is supposed to go through this thing here, and it comes right off this thing, so you keep your yarn secure when you're knitting. But my problem with it is you can't really just pick up a ball and put it inside here and start knitting from it, because this is a round shape, right? And there aren't many yarn balls that you can put inside. At least that's my experience with it. So I have a few yarn balls here. So if you are knitting with if you buy a skein and you wind it, you get this little shape here. You can't really put it inside because it doesn't really work. The yarn ball doesn't really, well, rolls around freely inside this ball here. If you buy a skein with like this, you have the same problem. And those donut ones, like Knitting for Olive, they are pretty common. You can't really put it inside. If you buy a skein that is caked up like this, you have the same problem. This one is even worse. So if you buy any mohair, at least all the mohairs that I've come across until now, they come in this shape here. You have the same problems. I don't know if I just don't know how to use a yarn ball, but yeah, it doesn't really works for me, and the yarn comes right off here, and it's a whole mess. So I gave up on using this for the proper reasons, and now it has a little fake plant, fake flower here, fake flowers, and yeah, it's a really cute yarn decor for my craft room. So yeah, I can't really say that I regret this, but because it is a quite cute decor, right? I think it is. So anyway, now tape measures. When I first started knitting, I bought this tape measure here. I know that would drive me crazy to keep having to roll them and do this every time I measured something. So I got my hands on a tape measure that had this snap here to keep them contained, but it still bugs me. So I came across retractable tape measures, and that's what I use now. You just press this little thing and it's quite cute. They're really cute. They're way cuter than the regular ones. And this is the one that I have now. I just have these two, and yeah, this is just a spare tape measure in case something happens with my other two. Now, blocking mats. Blocking mats is you don't really need blocking mats to block your knits, but in my opinion, it's quite convenient. You can use a towel, you can use a carpet, but I really like using blocking mats. And I first bought this set from Hobby. I don't think they sell this anymore. I don't like the package, this plastic thing. But in terms of the blocking mat, let me get one mat here. So it has no grit, right? And it is also really thin. And I don't know, it doesn't seem very sturdy. So I upgraded to a Knit IQ blocking mat set that I got from Amazon a few months ago. And this one is way better. But anyway, I don't really like this. It's way more work to get straight lines and to get the measurements you really want. And so I upgraded a few months ago to this Knit IQ set. And I really love it is way thicker, each mat, and you have this grid. This is a 1 by 1 inch. And it's way easier to get straight lines and to get your measurements, your desired measurements and all of that. And you can really see the difference here. So this set came with 2 sets of T-pins for blocking. I don't really use T-pins for blocking. They just make too big of a hole in my blocking mats. I don't really like it. Instead, I think these are called sewing pins. I just dropped it. I think these are called sewing pins. I mean, you can't really see. This is my pin cushion, by the way, that I've made a few years ago. This is so cute. So it's quite tall here. I just wanted to keep all my pins 100% contained because of my little niece. She likes to play with my knitting tools and notions, so this makes things safer for her. But I like using like the regular sewing pins. The hole they punch in the blocking mats is way smaller, and with a thicker blocking mat, my pins don't go all the way through. I mean, the thickness of the blocking mats plus my garment on top of it, my pins don't really get to the other side. And with this thinner blocking mats here that I had previously, I stabbed myself quite often when I was blogging my knits. So this is the little upgrade that I made a few months ago. Now, if we're talking about things I really regret buying these Tapestry needles here. So I still have them in the package, in the original package, because I never use them. So they have this really big eye here, and it is good for bulky yarns and things like that. But I never knit with bulky weight yarn. My preferred type is fingering weight, DK weight sometimes, so I never knit with bulky weight yarn or even worsted weight yarn. So yeah, they're quite good and cute and all of that. I think they're really good quality, but I never reach for them. I just have my trusty tapestry needle, like a regular tapestry needle with this little slanted edge here that I really like. And this is what I usually use to weave in my ends, or a smaller tapestry needle like this one with a smaller eye. And this is what I usually use to weave in my ends. I never reach for these needles, but yeah, I just regret it. Now let's go to another section. These are the things that I don't really regret, but I don't really reach for at the same time. So first, a scale. I always use a scale, and I think they're quite useful for when you're knitting. So if you're knitting with scrap yarn, with leftovers, if you're playing yarn chicken, a scale is quite handy to have. But this scale I bought for another purpose a few years ago, so it works out fine. Now this is my knitting scale, so the plate here it's smaller than what I would like. I would prefer the plate to be like the white square here, the white section. It would be way better. Sometimes I like to measure my skein, to weight my skeins, like in a skein form. So I have to do a little bit of, I have to be creative to get my entire skein inside this small plate here. And sometimes I like to measure my entire garment and all of that. So yeah, I have to be creative when using this scale. I would prefer to have a bigger plate, but when this scale eventually doesn't work anymore, then I will get my hands on a scale with a bigger plate. But this is the one that I have now. What else? A row counter. Yeah. So I bought a row counter a few months ago. This is a really cheap one made from wood. This is from Grene also. And this is a really cheap one that I bought to see if I liked this type of row counter. They stay on your needles like a stitch marker, and every time you change rows, you go to another ring here on your row counter, and that way you keep track of how many rows you've already knitted, or you still have to knit up. But I don't really like this. They get in the way and I find them really annoying. So I don't really regret this because I bought a really cheap one to see if I liked this type of row counter. And I'm really glad that I didn't spend my money on something more expensive because I don't like them. I prefer the clickable ones like this one from Coco Knits. This is the one I used, but frequently I forget to click. So usually I just use a stitch marker to track my progress, and I place a stitch marker every 20, 15, 10 rows or so to track my progress, and that's what I do, and it works out just fine. I don't really need a row counter. Now the next one, it pains me to say, but I think I regret buying my Shorties needle set. Yeah. So, this is the ChiaoGoo Shorty set, the blue set. So, it is really cute. The set comes with 5 different needle sizes, and you have it goes from it goes from 3.5 millimeters to 5 millimeters, and these are supposed to be a way to knit in the round with a small circumference. So you have 2 different lengths for the tip. So you have this one, I think it's a 8 centimeter, and the other one is, let me put it here. So you get 2 different lengths, one 8 centimeters and one 5 centimeters, I think, and you get both lengths for each needle size, so from 3.5 to 5 millimeters. But the way I knit and the way I hold my needles, I can make this work. Usually when I knit, I hold my needles like this, so the end of my needle hits my hand right here. And if I'm knitting with these shorty needles, the needle ends before my hand here, and I can make them work. I've tried multiple techniques and things, and it pains me to say, but I can make them work. So I still haven't given up on these needles. I want to make them work so bad, but I don't know. I think they take some getting used to. I've seen people saying when they first started with these needles, they hated them, but it takes some getting used to. So maybe I'm on track. But I've had these needles for I think 1 year now, and I don't know. I can make them work. I don't know what else to say. So maybe I've tried it multiple times, but my hands hurt. They get tired really easily. Yeah, I can make them work, but they are really cute. So yeah, we'll see if someday I can knit with them, but today is not the day. Now, other needles, I have this little set of DPNs, of double pointed needles, and again, I don't regret this because I bought a really cheap set. They're quite pretty. They're quite pretty. Actually, I bought this really cheap set from my local yarn shop just to see if I liked knitting with DPNs. These ones are quite thick. They are quite big. They are 7 millimeters. I just needed them for a project, and I decided to buy this set of DPNs for knitting the round, like a small circumference. I think I was knitting a sleeve or something like that, but I don't like them. They stab my hands all the time. I couldn't make them work, so I'm glad I bought this instead of an entire set or an expensive set of DPNs, because I prefer magic loop and circular needles. What else? They are more practical, okay? Another set that I bought is the same idea. I bought a fixed circular needle, also a really cheap one. This is from KnitPro. I bought a really cheap one, and this is a 2.5 millimeter. I needed them one day. I didn't have a interchangeable 2.5, so I got my hands on these, and I'm glad I didn't buy an entire set because I don't like fixed circulars. I just don't find them as practical as a interchangeable needle set. Some people really like using fixed circulars, but I'm not one of those people. So I don't regret this because, yeah, I don't really like it, but it was really cheap. Now we are getting to the end, and one of the things I don't like is, I don't really regret it because they are quite cute, and that is this set of higher stitch markers. They are supposed to be yarn balls stitch markers, and I have a couple more here. So there's a green one, a blue one, red, yellow, there's a purple one, they are quite cute, but I don't really use them. They are the same problem as the other two stitch markers. They are quite thick and they require too much yarn to go through it. They get in the way with this little yarn ball here. I'm thinking about attaching a lobster clasp, I don't know, to the end here and use them as progress keepers maybe. I don't know, because they are really cute, but at the same time I can't make them work. Now I have quite a mess around me, but those are the things. Thank you so much for watching. I will be posting a video about all my favorite knitting tools and notions, so keep an eye out for that. And if you're new here, I post regular podcast episodes every 2 weeks here on the channel, so feel free to stick around and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future cozy knitting updates. And if you'd like to share with me all the knitting notions and tools that you regret buying, I would love to know. So comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!